Hello, I'm Bill McDonough, and I'm the architect for Park 2020. I say that as a great privilege. When I first met Kurt and we talked about the possibilities of working together at Park 2020, we opened a dialogue that to this day inspires me every time it continues. And I think that's really the point of why I'm here right now. This is one of the most inspiring projects in the world. It continues to delight and surprise me. I know that at the beginning of the project, Kurt was very excited about the idea of the potentials of cradle to cradle in the built environment. And his feeling was that there must be a whole protocol in place to help this just happen, and all he had to do was adopt it. And it's sort of like that. When we published the book Cradle to Cradle in 2002, we articulated the idea of biological technical nutrients, of materials in reverse logistics with products of service concepts that Michael Braungart had been developing for many years. We looked at design as the first signal of human intention, something I had been working with for many years. And we put all this together and realized that if materials were safely in biological or technical cycles, had reverse logistics, could be seen as products of service, where we could actually lease things like windows in effect, so that we knew that the manufacturers knew where their materials were and could get them back in the future and have value continuously, endlessly. That if we would renewably power our systems, have clean water and social fairness, that the world gets better. And Kurt agreed that was the way to go. And then the question became, how? Well, all sustainability, like politics, is local. And with Cradle to Cradle, sustainability is actually a kind of a flat line goal. We're looking at the idea the world gets better, not is maintained. So the excitement of making things better means that we're in continuous improvement. So the first thing Kurt had to do was realize we're going on a journey together, and Park 2020 represents that journey. It's inspired. Michael Braungart has come on board to help with things from his perspective as well, and Kurt and his team have been leading and allowing us to manifest our intentions by design. So a project like this that'll be renewably powered, that has large-scale systems that'll take care of water and so on, is very exciting to us. And now we're down to the details on the materials and the suppliers, and more on that in a minute. So by design, what does it mean to do cradle-to-cradle design? What does it mean to think this way? Well, here's the bottom line on Park 2020. This place represents the next century and our hopes for that. It's humble because these things are new. We're finding out every day what it means to try to do things differently. The marvelous thing at Park 2020 is that we have Kurt and his team at Delta who can do the economic models and make this realistic and part of business and day-to-day behaviors that have to overcome incredible hurdles in the marketplace, as you know. But also the designs have to inspire and delight people and bring the suppliers along and the contractors with us, and we have to learn from each other. Let's think of it this way in terms of centuries. In the 1700s, Thomas Jefferson was here where I am, sitting in Charlottesville, Virginia, and he wrote the Declaration of Independence, part of a whole history of the study of human rights and the idea of human rights coming out of the Enlightenment. And then we look at the 1800s and we see Adam Smith's ideas in the late 1700s for the market economy replacing feudalism. And then we see the responses with communism, with capitalism, so on and so forth, manifesting at the end of the 1800s. And we see carbon fuel arrive at about that time. And then in the 1900s, we move from this idea of a social benefit and human rights to the 1700s, the 1800s for the market economy, and then carbon. And then the 1900s, we basically trashed the planet. We start putting poison in the water, we put carbon in the air, and all of a sudden the world is now being damaged by human behavior at a scale that we could never imagine in the 1800s. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote an essay for Harvard in 1836 where he was looking at the question is, if humans are natural, is therefore all human activity part of nature? And the question for him was, isn't nature all those things that are too big for humans to affect? The oceans, the mountains, the leaves, for example. Well, now we know we can't affect them. All of them. We are the dominant species. So the next century, we will add ecological consideration to social consideration and to economic consideration. And we look forward to an ecological century where we might reverse the damage that we've seen for the last century. We might, in fact, reverse the whole process itself of design and become regenerative. So we move from being simply less bad to being more good. We move from reduce, reuse, recycle to redesign, renew, regenerate. 3 new R's. This is the portent of Park 2020. This is why it's the signal of human intention. This is why we all work together as designers. Because this is one of the great design challenges, the design of the next century. And Park 2020 is looking at it at a big scale, which is a real estate development that is positive, not just less negative. And we're looking at the idea that every material matters. And Delta and their teams have looked down at every material and are putting forward cradle-to-cradle certified materials. These are new ideas that have come in the last few years, as thanks to, in fact, many of the people in the Netherlands who have supported the idea of cradle-to-cradle. And this is a showcase for these ideas, and it's been taken so seriously at Park 2020. It's very delightful. And then finally, it's going to require all of us, because the question is really about endless resourcefulness. Not just the materials are endlessly resourceful in continuous use cycles and reuse cycles and seen as services and things like that, or materials in buildings that are ready to be reused in 25 years because we know where they are and how they behave and they have economic value again. Or buildings that are reusable because they're designed to be. But it also involves all the suppliers, it involves all designers. It's going to take us all, and it's going to take forever. But that's the point.